Get Abstract keeps you updated with summaries of the best business books published worldwide. Books you absolutely need to know in a convenient, smart format.
Thinking about thinking, or writing lucidly about how human beings think, isn't easy. Nor is it a simple matter to help people improve their mental capacities, but Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman does all three in his accessible volume, Thinking Fast and Slow, published by Farrar, Straus, and Giraud. The topics Kahneman addresses are both complex and integral to the human mind. He asks you to reflect on thinking by considering how your mind habitually contradicts itself, distorts data, and misleads you. His prose is lucid, his reasoning rigorous, and his honesty refreshing. More than once he illustrates conflicted thinking with examples from his own life. The result is a fairly slow read, but an ultimately rewarding experience. Get Abstract recommends this book to anyone interested in neuroscience and neuroeconomics, and to all those who want to gain new thoughts on thinking.
Anytime you have to make sense of something, your mind applies two systems to the question at hand. The first is System 1, or the mental processing that reads emotions and handles your automatic skills, like driving your car or adding 2 plus 2. System 1 takes over your thinking when you comprehend simple statements, instinctively turn to see where a noise is coming from, or grimace when you see a gruesome image. This system supplies associated meanings rapidly and involuntarily. By contrast, you use System 2 when you're focusing on specific details, like counting or figuring out how to complete your income tax forms. System 2 applies effort consciously, such as when you do complicated math, try new physical activities, or search for a specific person in a crowd. Your thinking in this system is slower, but you need it for methodical thinking processes, such as formal logic. Which system you use and how you think depends a lot on the effort you are expending. If you are doing something easy, like strolling on a known path, you're using System 1 and have a lot of cognitive capacity left for thinking. If you push the pace to a speed walk, System 2 switches on to maintain your effort. Now try to solve an arithmetic problem, and you're likely to stop walking altogether. Your brain can't handle the additional burden.
System 1 likes to jump on the straightforward answer. It performs rapid associative activation. Pair two words, or a word and an image, and your mind will link them, weaving a story from those scraps of information. If you want to persuade people, appeal to their System 1 preference for simple, memorable information. Use a bold font in your reports, try rhyming slogans in your advertising, and make your company's name easy to pronounce. System 1 prefers the world to be linked and meaningful, so if you are dealing with two discrete facts, System 1 will assume they are connected. It seeks to promote cause and effect explanations. Similarly, when you observe a bit of data, your System 1 presumes that you've got the whole story. System 1 is also responsible for anchoring, in which you unconsciously tie your thinking on a topic to information you've recently encountered, even if the two have nothing to do with one another. For example, mentioning the number 10 and then asking how many African countries belong to the United Nations will produce lower estimates than if you mentioned 65 and asked the same question. System 2 can magnify your mistakes, though, by finding reasons for you to continue believing in the answers and solutions you generate. System 2 doesn't dispute what System 1 presents. Rather, it is the endorser of how System 1 seeks to categorize your world.
The natural tendency to focus on a message's content rather than its relevance affects your ability to judge. People seize on vivid examples to shape their fears and plans for the future. For example, media coverage of dramatic but infrequent events like disasters, as opposed to dull but common threats like strokes, sets those events up as anchors that people use to make wildly inaccurate assessments about where the risks to their health lie. People also reason incorrectly when they don't recognize the regression to the mean. Over time, everything tends to return to the average. but people create and apply causal interpretations to what are, in effect, random events. For example, if a baseball player who has a strong first year subsequently falters in his sophomore slump, sports fans will ascribe the decline to any number of rationales. But, in reality, the player was probably just more fortunate in his initial outings than in later ones.
People derive meaning from stories that emphasize individual characteristics like virtue and skill, but discount the role of luck and statistical factors. You will tend to focus on a few striking events that happened rather than on the countless events that failed to happen. Due to hindsight bias, you will distort reality by realigning your memories of events to jibe with new information. And when telling stories about events you're involved in, you tend to be overly optimistic and predisposed to overvaluing your talents relative to those of others. This intense, pervasive optimism is useful for the economy in many ways because entrepreneurs and inventors tend to start new businesses all the time, notwithstanding the overwhelming odds against them.
When you take these tendencies into account, it is hard to believe any economic theory based on the idea that people are rational actors. Making good decisions depends on paying attention to where your information comes from, understanding how it is framed, assessing your own confidence about it, and gauging the validity of your data sources.
Just as two systems interact in your mind, two selves clash over the quality of your experiences. The experiencing self is the part of you that lives your life. The remembering self is the part that evaluates the experiences you have, draws lessons from them, and makes decisions about the future. Your two selves are intertwined with your two mental systems. System 2 constructed your remembering self, but your tendency to weigh experiences by their final moments and to favor long pleasures and short pains comes from System 1. In general, recognizing how these different mental systems work can help you realize that the purely rational beings favored by economic theory are fictional, and that real people need help making better judgments in their financial and life choices. Understanding how your mind works can help you advocate for policies that take those issues into account.
Thank you for listening to Get Abstract Book Summaries. To learn more about this topic, simply enter the keywords cognitive science on getabstract.com.